starting with defensive line, again, I wanted to rank these and do like this one's 1, this one's 2. If I had 7 position groups, I wanted to rank them 1 through 7. I instead just gave them priority levels. Defensive line, and I'm grouping this together overall, right? This defensive line grouping, because I didn't want to parse it out, it includes nose, it includes 4-eye, it includes 5 techs, and I'm also including the edge players. So the guys that would be stand up, outside linebackers or edges, in an odd front, or would also be the edges or the defensive ends in the 4-down nickel stuff. So I'm including that, right? I'm including all of that on the defensive line. High priority. I don't think anybody who knows me is shocked by this. And I don't really think this is the shock for anybody. I think a lot of people recognize the defensive line piece. I'm going to start inside and make my way out. So as of right now, if we are looking at the where'd my salary cap table notes go? Oh, so annoyed at myself right now. Hold on. Hold the phone. A rookie move. Rookie move. All right. So if we are looking at the Buffalo Bills defensive line, so I want to start from the inside out and talk about Deion Walker, because I feel like he continues to get a lot of conversation around, what's he going to play? How's he going to play? All this kind of stuff. I don't mind him at nose. I don't mind the idea of him at nose. I don't mind the idea of him playing at that spot. My biggest question with him is just with how he's built, being able to consistently hold up against double teams, against run defense stuff, and, mitigating displacement is my biggest concerns. And it's not because he's soft or anything like that. He's just 6'7" and doesn't have a ton of bend. As JP Acosta refers to him, another shout out for JP, he's the Iron Giant, right? There's not a lot of bend to him whatsoever. So I think he could play nose, but I think the Bills need a true nose to free up Deion Walker and let him rock elsewhere. I think he can moonlight at nose, but ideally, I don't think he's a full-time dude at nose. Can he work there? Yes, especially if the Bills are playing with movement and trying to penetrate, which they can and will do. Again, remember everything with this defense. This Bills defense is going to be a hybridized front. You're going to see odd front stuff. You're going to see even front stuff, right? So you're still going to see elements from the Sean McDermott era where it's 4 down and you're playing nickel, right? Now, the edges might be more outside linebacker types than true defensive ends under Sean McDermott. The defensive tackles might be more defensive ends instead of defensive tackles, right? There's a whole bunch of hybridization from a player perspective and a personnel perspective, in addition to the hybridized fronts and the fluidity and the flexibility and the adjustability of all of that, right? So I do think you will see this defense having, some one gapping in it and some penetration. You're going to see run stunts. You're going to see slants. You're going to see movement, stuff that I think Deion Walker can do, right? And I also, again, I don't think he's horrible at the point of attack, but, from a skill set standpoint and a play style standpoint, he's not a plugger. That is just what it is. Like, it's not how he's built. He's still a penetrator. And again, the phrasing I'm about to use doesn't mean that he's soft. He's a finesse player on the interior, which isn't horrible. And again, he was more physical against the run as a rookie than I thought he ever would be. And he played better against the run as a rookie than I thought he ever would. But again, he's more of a finesse player inside. What I would like to see is, if you get a true nose, that allows Walker to kind of rotate in there more on passing down in distances, get an early down nose, let him plug, let him just beat up offensive linemen. Again, I'm going to keep giving that example. Give me Roy Lopez, and I'm just going to drop Roy Lopez like a stone in the center of the defense to play nose, to beat up guards, beat up centers, push guys into the backfield, cause displacement, and just cause chaos in the interior for anywhere from 15 to 25 snaps a game, right? You do that, and then I think that allows Walker to rotate in at nose, but also get some work at 4-eye and some other spots across the defensive line. I don't think Walker's built to regularly mitigate displacement and gum up interiors, right? And other than that, you don't have a regular nose that I want on this team. I know Zion Logue, I do think he has the body type and the skill set for it. I'm not going to hang my hat on that being the nose rotation. I don't want a nose rotation of Deion Walker and Zion Logue. I just don't think that's high end enough and displacement mitigating enough. I don't want to play odd front structures and a hybridized front and still have to, okay, well, we have to slant, we have to run blitz, we have to do all this movement to be able to steal gaps and cancel gaps and cross face and cause havoc and cause creation, for negativity because we don't have ass kickers up front who can beat somebody one-on-one and who can anchor and mitigate and reset the line of scrimmage. I don't want to deal with that again. And it's not just because I don't want to. I don't think you can do that in today's NFL. Now, again, I still want to be able to do the penetration and the movement stuff, but I'd like to do both. I'd like to do all of it. The name of the game, I've said this years ago and I'm about the offense, but I'm saying it now for the defense. You got to be, if you're playing rock, paper, scissors, you got to be able to throw rock, paper, and scissors. And the Bills defense hasn't the past couple of seasons. They haven't been able to throw rock. They can throw paper, which is coverage. They can throw scissors, which is movement stuff. They can't do rock, which is sit there, beat people up, and not get moved. You can't do that. They can't do that. You got to be able to do all three. That's the name of the game, offensively and defensively. Can you be fluid enough? Can you be almost kind of like identityless enough to be whatever you need to be on any given week to beat an opponent? So you need to be as matchup proof as possible. And that goes into the scheme and it goes into the personnel that you have as well. It's part of, not to get too meta here or large scale, it's part of why Jim Leonard's defense and 3-4 or odd front hybridized defenses are what I've wanted for years for this Bills defense, because come playoff time, they weren't matchup proof. There were clear ways that they could be dictated to. There were clear ways to put them on the back foot and make them chase the game. And we saw that play out year after year on the defensive side of the ball. And I think Jim Leonard philosophically is on the opposite. Again, he's said multiple times, and we talked about it on this show, he doesn't want to be a counterpuncher, right? He wants to make the offense go over to the sideline, look at the tablets and be like, oh, how do we adjust? What do we do? How do we fix this? Yada, yada. That's who he is. That's what he wants to be. So in order to do that, you need to be as fluid and as flexible as possible in your scheme, in your structure, but also in your personnel. So I think get yourself a true nose, free up Deion Walker to do some fun stuff. Let him play a little nose. Sure. Let him play as a 4-eye. Sure. Let him play as a 5. Sure. Let him play as a 1-tech or a 3 in your 4-down even front stuff. Sure. Let him stand up and rush from a 2-point stance off the edge like he did at Kentucky. Sure. Let him go be Godzilla and King Kong at different spots on the defensive line. Cool. I don't think letting him play nose tech fully or having him be your starting nose tackle. I don't think him being your starting nose, 1, maximizes his skill set, 2, sets him up for success, 3, sets the defense up for success. Could he do it? Sure. Is it ideal? For me, no. So starts with there, get yourself a true nose. Tying into that, let's keep working our way out. Let's go to the 4 eyes. We've talked about it, right? If you've got guys who, if you're in an odd front presentation, if you're in that tight front specifically, that appreciate you, Ryan, recognizing the rock, paper, scissors analogy. I use that rock, paper, scissors analogy a lot. I've never really thought about it, meaning like the rock is run defense, but I figured, hey, when in Rome. The 4 eyes, those guys that are still going to be on the inside shoulder of the tackles, guys who also could maybe play as edge players or defensive ends, maybe kick inside certain sub packages, this and that. Right now, you're looking at Ed Oliver and TJ Sanders. I think Ed Oliver will be fine. I'm cool with that. I think Ed Oliver will benefit in this defense. Let him be a 4-eye in the tight front or some odd front stuff. Let him kick in to a 3 or even a 1 in known passing down in distances. When you're in even front stuff, you can do whatever you want with him. I'd even be cool letting him stand up and rush off the edge in certain situations, in certain sub packages. Sorry, I'm moving too much through the camera out of focus. I'd be okay letting him do that. I think Jim Leonard will kind of tap into the versatility that Ed Oliver has. It's just a matter of if he can stay healthy, which is a big if. Then the other 4-eye, I just have questions on TJ Sanders. I'm not ready to be confident in him. And I wouldn't be confident in him holistically, even if the defense wasn't changing. His rookie year was almost kind of a wash. He had to play defensive end because they were so banged up at that spot. He had struggled against the run. He's getting chucked and thrown out the club, against double teams and things like that. I think this schematic change isn't ideal. It is not ideal for him. Doesn't mean he can't work. I just have questions for him. What weight is he going to play at? And, how does his technique and play style translate to this defense? So right now, like if you're looking at the roster as is, as we've talked about, it's Ed and TJ Sanders probably as your four eyes. I'm not confident enough in Sanders. You need a real four eye. No disrespect to him. I just don't trust Sanders as a player right now. So I'd like either a true starting four eye, like John Franklin Myers. I'll take David Onyemata, especially because of his flexibility. Sebastian Joseph Day. Give me one of those three dudes as a true four eye, or have Deion Walker and Ed Oliver be your starting four eyes, and then just get me two noses who are going to play the nose and beat people up. Give me Tonga and Lopez, and I'll be quiet. Give me Lopez and DJ Reader. That's fine too. Like, give me one of those guys. Even take like one of the older type of vets who are on not their last legs, but I'll take Andrew Billings, I'll take Eddie Goldman, like somebody like that. Like, you can give me two noses if it means Deion Walker is going to be a full-time four eye in the odd front looks, and then kind of work into the regular four down, even front stuff like he's done before, right? But I think you need a true four eye. I think you need to upgrade the interior of that defensive line from the inside of the tackles to the center. That's where you need to upgrade, both in those odd front alignments and, again, even in the even front stuff. If you get David Onyemata, if you get John Franklin Myers, those are dudes who can play four eye and kick some butt with it. Onyemata can even play nose a little bit, even though he's 300 pounds, just because he's so nasty. But those dudes can also rock in a 1 or a 3 tech when you are in your 4 down nickel front stuff. Like, they give you a lot of flexibility in a variety of ways, even play a little defensive end in there too, some 5, which is cool. Marlon, your comment there about, asking about Dwayne Carter. I was pretty out on Dwayne Carter after his rookie year, which I know is harsh. I don't think the Bills' plan for him helped. They took him and Austin Johnson and made them both play at weights that didn't lean into what they were. Austin Johnson was a pretty good one tech, rotational one tech before coming to Buffalo. Dwayne Carter was a penetrating defensive tackle and a 3 tech at Duke, and they made Carter gain weight and they made Johnson lose weight because they wanted both of them to be able to play 1 and 3. And I thought that screwed them both up. So I don't think they did Carter a lot of favors as a rookie, but his play was just bad. And now he's coming off an Achilles. I don't know what to do for Dwayne Carter. You're probably putting him at, not even probably, his only shot is to play 4-eye. I think he was a cut candidate. If he didn't get hurt, I think he was a cut candidate this past year in the preseason. So I'm kind of out on Dwayne Carter right now. Let me keep going back to my notes here. And then let's keep going out. Let's go to edge, right? So I don't care how you want to label it. If you want to label it as an outside linebacker, if you want to label it as like an edge in the odd front stuff, I don't care if you want to call it whatever technique you want to label it, a lineman you want to label it, I don't care. They need an edge rusher to be a Batman to Greg Rousseau's Robin. That's the analogy I'm going to keep going with. I think Greg Rousseau gets a ton of hate. I don't think it's necessarily all deserved, but I don't think he's a true edge one overall. I think he is versus the run. I don't think he is as a pass rusher. And I know some of the metrics speak well of him, like his pressure numbers and his pass rush productivity. They're decent. But I think when you look at how his pressures come, he's just not an edge one as a pass rusher. But he's a very fine to good edge two. You just need a Batman to his Robin. Or you need another Robin, or you need a Nightwing. You need something. And preferably somebody to give you some juice, right? I think Michael Hoyt and Groot are two good edges. So Hoyt and Rousseau, I think that's fun, especially like Hoyt gives you a lot of flexibility. Rousseau does as well too, kick inside a little bit to 4-eye, do a bunch of different things. Hoyt can drop into coverage. Like there's some fun stuff you can do with Hoyt and Rousseau, but Hoyt's coming off an Achilles that he hurt in the first week of November. November 2nd against the Chiefs is when that game was. We don't know what version of Michael Hoyt we're going to get back. We don't know if he'll be ready for the start of the season. We don't know if, again, what version we're going to get, even if he is ready. It usually takes 2 years to get back to form. So we might not see the true impactful Michael Hoyt until 2027, but he's still going to factor in and play if he's able to play. but I think him and Groot are still more in the compression, beat 'em up type of mold. You need juice, right? Off the edge, I think. And I think you also need somebody who's just a bucket getter and a winner. I think Hoyt is a very fine player. I like Michael Hoyt a lot. He was on my top free agent list last year of who I wanted the Bills to add, right? I don't think he's the Batman to Groot's Robin. I think he's another Robin or a Nightwing. That's fine. You either need another one of those guys, you either need another edge too, or you need a true one. I don't think they're going to be able to get a true one. Little bit of spoilers for the film room tomorrow. That's why I'm looking at guys like Boye Mafe, Kingsley Enagbare, even somebody like Jacob Martin, who I think is more of a he's not a two and he's not a Robin, but I think he could be a very good rotational three to function in there. Who knows? Maybe this system shift is good for Javon Solomon and his speed and athleticism and bend and juice and moves start to work. As that 2-point stance off the edge, we start to see some of that productivity that he showed at Troy. But I think that's still hope. And if we just really haven't seen much from him as a player, good or bad. So I don't want to put my eggs into that basket. And again, they were going to have to add to this position, even if the defense stayed the same. I'm going to keep saying that. We've talked about it on the show, right? Like they were going to add to the D line regardless. Daquan Jones gone, Larry Ogunjobi gone, Joey Bosa gone, AJ Epinesa gone. Like, granted, you could bring some of those guys back if you wanted to, but even if everything stayed the same schematically, they were still going to have to add to the defensive line. They have to add to the defensive line now. Now it's just different body types, right? It is some different play types. It is some different play styles. It's all of that kind of stuff. It is that idea of, again, hey, we are changing some things a bit. And I don't think it's as drastic as it's kind of made out to be. Again, they were going to have to add to the defense regardless, but now you're just adding to the defense with the differences in what we're seeing, right? The differences in skill set, play style, body type, all that kind of stuff. Like that is changing. So we were going to be having a similar conversation if the Bills stayed pat and had Sean McDermott and did everything there. But again, they changed. So now you just got to bring in different body types across the defensive line. But defensive line is high priority, very urgent. Arguably the top for me, and I think probably the top. Linebacker is right there with it. We're just going to talk about in a minute. Just because I think Leonard's going to raise the floor, but I do think you need certain body types and skill sets to unlock the potential and ceiling for the scheme and structure, right? Mike Macdonald, let's use that Seattle defense as an example, right? Like Mike Macdonald, great mind, great scheme, great structure. He's also got a ton of horses and velociraptors on that defense that allow him to do what he does, right? Being able to have Devin Witherspoon, being able to have Byron Murphy, DeMarcus Lawrence, Derek Hall, Leonard Williams, Uchenna Nwosu, Boye Mafe, Ernest Jones, Kobe Bryant, Julian Love, Emin Wari, Woolen, Josh Jobe, like the body types and the skill sets allow the scheme and the structure to maximize. They each maximize each other, right? I think Leonard's defense will maximize guys along with his game planning and play calling and all that, right? Everything that he is in totality. But I think you need the right body types and skill sets and play styles to maximize his defense. So you get essentially a chicken egg scenario of positivity and good stuff. Padden says, insert noun, insert verb, and add hashtag Edmonds. Happy offseason. I appreciate you, Padden. For those who don't know, Padden and I have a very long-running joke of just how everything can be solved by moving Tremaine Edmonds to edge. This goes back to the conversation when, because he had some sacks at Virginia Tech. People thought he should be moved to an outside linebacker spot, let him rush off the edge, blitz more. He could win one-on-one pass rushing stuff. He shouldn't be a middle linebacker, shouldn't be an off-the-ball type of dude in McDermott's defense. I appreciate you, Pat. And thank you very much for the super chat. Thank you very much for being here. Noah says, Odafe Owe. I really like Odafe Owe. I liked him at Penn State. I love that he kind of put things together this year, especially once he got traded to the Chargers. I just think he's going to cost too much. His size, athleticism, frame, and then this bit of production. I still think there's a higher ceiling to be had for him. I think he's going to get paid on the open market, and it's just going to take him out of the Bills' wheelhouse. Charles says Quiddy Pay. Yeah, I wouldn't hate the idea of Quiddy Pay. I think he's more of a rotational guy. I don't. I think he's like a step below the Batman, or he's definitely a step below the Batman tier. Multiple. I don't even know if he's in the Robin or Nightwing tier. I think he's more of a solid rotational guy. Wouldn't be opposed to it, especially for the right price. But not at the top of my list. And Patton says, yeah, Edmonds might be cut by the Bears. There are some rumors floating around. I don't know if they were real or troll account stuff, but yeah, there are some rumors. And RJ says Edmonds to the edge will finally complete the prophecy. Yes. Harper says, do you think Hoyt and Groot will be able to hold up to what Leonard's defense asks of edges as far as coverage goes? Yeah, I think Groot is fine enough in coverage that he can survive there. Hoyt, I think he got a ton of coverage reps when he was with the Rams. I think you would like a bit more fluidity and a bit more athleticism and change of direction. I should say not necessarily athleticism. I think you'd like a bit more fluidity and change in direction capability than you have with Groot and Hoyt, but I think they can be fine. Especially with, again, how much you're going to work in the 4-down nickel stuff. I just think you need to add to them because of what they are. You need some different body types with that. So you have Groot and Hoyt, right? You got to juice up your edge grouping a little bit. You got to have some guys that can bring explosion, tenacity, just a different play style off the edge. You can't just have a bunch of thumpers and pocket compression guys off the edge. You need to add to that room from a complementary standpoint with skill set and play style. So I'm fine with those two. Again, even if Hoyt was completely healthy, that's a great start. I'm cool with Hoyt and Groot. You got to add juice. You need juice. I would like some juice, some bend, some fluidity, some change of direction, some cool stuff like that. Patton says, is he a commissioner? He's a Commissioner Gordon. Yeah, maybe. Well, I don't know. Commissioner Gordon's pretty sweet. I don't want to sell Gordon short. He doesn't have any powers, but Gordon's pretty sweet. That's funny. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's where I'm at for my defensive line conversation at this point, right? I think Walker can be fine at nose. I'd like not Noah says he's Cyborg or Beast Boy. That's funny. I think Walker can moonlight as a nose. I don't want him having to do the full-time duties there. And then again, depending on what you do with Walker, I think is a fun domino. If he's going to moonlight at nose, fine. Get a true nose to eat the run defense snaps with him and play in rotation. And then get yourself a true 4-eye, right? If Walker's going to move to 4-eye, cool, get yourself 2 noses. Or, another 4-eye who can do a good chunk of work at nose. That will be fair. Again, I would even be fine. Give me Roy Lopez and David Onyemata, and then you've got a bunch of flexibility on that. Give me Roy Lopez and JFM. Now you got flexibility between those two and Walker. You've got flexibility between nose and 4-eye, odd front, even front stuff. A lot of fun. A lot of possibilities there. Charles says all Velociraptor free agency draft. Chanel, Mafe, Alani Taylor, Keontae Scott, and then Pons. Man, Pons is I hate using this, but yeah, Pons isn't a dog. Pons is a Raptor. Yeah, corner from Indiana. And then Keontae Scott, all day. All day. You know me. I'm a Miami guy. All day. Keontae Scott, pure Raptor. Raptor blood runs through Keontae Scott's veins. I absolutely love that. So that's where I'm at on defensive line. Let's